Okay, so can an atheist be morally superior to a Christian? Answer is yes. And this should be easy for anyone to understand because, end of the day, Christians or Muslims or whatever you claim to be, they're just human beings and they can mess up and claim to be something and not really follow exactly what they're believing. This is common amongst Christians, especially me being an atheist for most of my life. Now I'm Christian, but when I was an atheist, I saw Christians basically do everything under the sun just like any other normal person. And I think a lot of people are turned off with Christianity because of that fact that they know and they see Christians behaving in a way that's appalling to a lot of people. You can look at the Crusades, you can look at the witch witch hunts and the witch trials, you can look at some of the um, um, sexual discrimination, the gender role thing. You can see a lot of hatred coming from all types of groups, especially Christians. So it makes sense why an atheist can be more morally superior than a Christian. Um, when I was in most of my years when I was an atheist, God was still with me. I never knew God exactly, but God was with me as an atheist, and this is why I think a lot of atheists can be morally somewhat, well, quotations around morally good. No one's technically good, but you can be morally superior than some Christians because in the day it's not a matter of intellect or a culture setting where people define what's best. It's your heart. It's how good your heart is, and the only one that can really make your heart good is God. And this is where I'll transition into still why I'm Christian and why I chose to become Christian even though I was mostly atheist, is because at the end of the day, your goodness and how good you are and how pure your heart is ultimately still comes from God. I will say the better you are, like when it comes to how good you behave and act and how loving you are, that means God is more than likely with you. Because again, it all comes from God. That literally all comes from God. I wrote down on a piece of paper once that negative and positive. I correlated the negative with the devil, which is the dark and the evil in the world, and I correlated positive with God. I couldn't really explain why I put negative and positive on the paper. I'm still explaining, trying to work that out so I can explain it to you guys. But when you see all this goodness, it's all God. Negative is never usually the devil. I think it talks a little bit about fear doesn't come from God. So you have to understand that when anything negative, anxiety, all this stuff, it's all from the devil. God's all the positive. So when you have these good, positive feelings, it's usually from God. Now, can a negative person have these feelings as well? Yes. We live in an up and down, flip-floppy world where good and bad, good and evil battle all the time. So you're going to see some up and down. But in the day, no matter what you claim, whether it's atheist or Christian, we're all flip-floppers. And end of the day, if you want to be the best version of yourself and the most complete version, a saved version where you're with God and not opposed and away from Him, you have to become a Christian, a real Christian, who actually believes and not believing you're morally superior to anyone. It's not about being morally superior to anyone, whether you're an atheist or a Christian. You should become Christian anyway, because that's how you're saved by God. You become Christian because you are saved by God and you have gained an understanding. That's what it's mostly about. It's not being morally superior. You've gained an understanding that you need a Savior. You need, not more than you need, you need guidance. You need someone to lead you because the world is hard to navigate. And when you're navigating by yourself, the devil is capable of hardening your heart to the point where you're lost out here. So atheists can be morally superior. But I think what the devil tries to do more times than not is get atheists prideful, right? Pride comes before the fall, that's in the Bible, of their arrogance of how good they are when they're not really good, right? No one's good, like it says in the Bible. And then eventually he brings y'all down to the fall. He brings y'all down, right? He brings you up high so y'all can crap on like the religious or the Christians, right? And then he brings y'all back down low. Why? Because in the day, the devil's goal is to stomp out Christianity. The devil's goal is to stomp out Jesus Christ. The devil's goal is to trample all over God. I remember God told me that, we talked about slavery a little bit, and I'll make a whole separate video about that, but he told me that history repeats itself. And that means right now we're in a good period. Doesn't mean we can't get a bad period again. Without God, we'll never remain good always. And the devil gives breadcrumbs just to trick us. God gives you treasures and mansions, and it's not a trick. It's just what he does because he's the Father. So when it comes to moral superiority, it doesn't really matter. Ultimately, whether you're an atheist, Christian, Muslim, it doesn't matter. End of the day, you choose Christianity because you've come to some sort of understanding. If you haven't come to that understanding or that belief that this is honestly true and real, maybe you need to ask questions and be more open to asking questions to people that do truly believe and are walking the walk and actually know God. So yeah, don't get on your high horse, whether you're a Christian, an atheist, or a Muslim. Don't think your intellect's going to save you just because you might be smarter than someone. It's not about that. We all are intelligent. We all have our own understanding. We all wrestle and grasp things in our own different, unique ways because we're created differently. So we need to humble ourselves and honestly just have conversations and talk. I mean, that's the only way you're going to get somewhere. I need you and you need me. And God's using me to connect to some of you guys, to bring you guys over to him so y'all can gain some type of understanding. I thank you guys for listening. You guys take care, and God bless. Peace.